Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Don't forget to subscribe if you'd like. Now today we're going to be talking about Shannon Sharpe. Shannon Sharpe, the former NFL player, Hall of Famer, turned TV show host. He had a wonderful show on ESPN by the name of Undisputed, where he alongside Skip Bayless went back and forth. I mean, it was really just one of the greatest sports shows I think I've ever seen. They went back and forth, Monday through Friday, talking about the latest sport games, specifically NBA, NFL games. And it was a really hot show before they parted ways. I think they were on the show for 7 years together. Anyway, Shannon Sharpe went on to start his own podcast on YouTube, where a lot of you probably have saw the video the interview rather that he had with Cat Williams. Garnered over almost 90 million views so far to date, and it's probably, I think he said, his highest grossing video, his highest grossing interview. But anyway, he's found himself in a bit of a pickle since announcing his $100 million contract. Now he's being sued for half of that, right at $50 million, by the Houston-based attorney Tony Busby. Now, we all remember Tony Busby from last year, who filed a suit against Jay-Z, and I think it was the end of last year, top of this year, and we did see how that turned out, case dismissed and all that stuff. But Shannon Sharpe did release a video talking about this specific incident that's going on, this trial. Let's take a look.
To my family, friends, supporters, and colleagues, I want to speak to you directly and from the heart. This is a shakedown. I'm going to be open, transparent, and defend myself because this isn't right. This is all being orchestrated by Tony Busby, who has targeted Jay-Z. Tony Busby targets black men, and I believe he's going to release a 30-second clip of a sex tape that tries to make me look guilty and play into every stereotype you could possibly imagine. That video should actually be 10 minutes or so. Hey Tony, instead of releasing your edit, put the whole video out. I don't have it, or I would myself. You know what happened, and you're trying to manipulate the media. The encounter in question took place during the day at her invitation, and now that appears to be a deliberate setup, coordinated by Gabby, also known as Carly on OnlyFans. Gabby and Tony Busby want $50 million. What they're getting is sued for defamation and trying to take me down. My career is all about real talk and honesty. I know my family and fans know exactly what this is about, and I'm going to be out there telling you whatever I need to say, just like I always do. I love all you guys. Thanks.
Of course, and quite naturally, Shannon Sharpe does deny any type of sexual assault that took place. And he's gonna sue. He's countersuing for defamation. So we'll definitely see how it turns out. But some of these text messages that Shannon Sharpe released to kind of confirm that they had a consensual kind of, I guess, kinky, if you will, relationship. And a few of the text messages I'll go ahead and read, where I'll call her young lady, says, "I want to put my tongue in your bum hole and marry you." She says, "That's my daddy. If I want you to put a big black baby in me." Let's see, what else does she say? "You better crave it because you're going to be stuck with it for life after you put a big black baby in me." And something to the effect of, I know you miss this big juicy butt, 25,000 for each cheek. And I want you to put a dog collar around my neck and choke me with it while you're screwing me. So she definitely has a lot to say. This is just what he's releasing from what she said. We don't know how he replied to it, or really even if he replied to it, but those are the texts that he shows that he has from her, kind of just to reinforce that, no, we had a consensual relationship. We had this kind of sexual kinky relationship, maybe into some of that submissive, what is it called, BDSM. Maybe they were into that. That's kind of what he's alluding to, right? Like, it was no sexual assault taking place. It was all consensual. Now, the thing that has people in the uproar, right? A couple of things. One is the nature of the text. There's a lot of racial undertones, especially with the "put a big black baby in me." Really struck a nerve with let's just say the black community, but probably other communities as well, but definitely within the black community. Black Twitter, or Black X, I guess we can call it now, was definitely all in an uproar about him receiving those texts, and we all want to know, how did he reply? And then for her to go on to say, I know you missed this juicy asparagus at $25,000 a cheek. And it's like, oh my God. The self-respect, when I think about Shannon Sharpe, and again, we'll see what comes out of this. I don't wholeheartedly believe this, just because, one, of timing, two, it's by this particular attorney who's kind of becoming the Gloria Allred, the Lisa Bloom, it's kind of becoming sketchy. I think Jay-Z's put it best by calling him like an ambulance chaser, We'll see how it turns out, but it's just kind of, and I guess you go where the money is, right? If you're an attorney, and this is kind of like your forte, you go where the money is. You want high profile cases. You want high paying profile cases. You don't want to take the little itty bitty stuff to get, $5,000 worth of, several hundred hours of work. Being an attorney is work. It's reading, it's cases, it's getting evidence. It's a lot. You know what I mean? And so this is what this guy is going after. These people, again, Shannon Sharpe last week announced this $100 million contract that he's getting. And now he's being sued for $50 million this week. So it's like, oh my goodness, what a hell of a 7 days to have, right? But it's becoming so commonplace where, and I just did a video on Kanye West, and you can go ahead and watch that if you'd like. It kind of lends to the credibility factor, and not that sexual harassment or sexual assault, not that these things don't take place, because as a woman, I've definitely experienced it, and I've experienced things as a Black woman. So I'm definitely not saying that. But it's kind of becoming sketchy, especially when the timing thing comes up. We want to just make sure that we're being prudent. And the people just are flat out lying, to get a buck. But I guess, hey, the government is collecting student loans, so you got to do what you got to do, right? But let's make sure that we're moving with integrity. But in terms of Shannon Sharpe, I want to address those texts. The big black baby comment, and again, we don't know how he responded or if he responded to those particular texts, because he didn't show what he put, just what she, he's telling his side of the story, right? This kind of lends to what I was talking about with the Carmelo Anthony and Austin Metcalf video with the desire for the proximity to whiteness. Those are strong racial undertones. It's not put a big, beautiful baby in me. It's put a big black baby. Like, why the emphasis on the big black? You know what I mean? For me, that would be a turnoff. If I was dating interracially and the guy said, I'm going to put a big white baby in you, and it's like, what? That's a little sick. That's a little weird sounding. It's fetishizing someone. It's not seeing that person as a human being. It's a fetish at that point, It's not about love, or the sexuality is based on some type of sick fetish. But let's just call it a thing. Let's just call it what it is. I want to see how he responds to that, which he hasn't given space to. But also this $25,000 a cheek. Is that really what it's going for? And I don't know if I'm sure implants are $50,000. I should hope not. For $50,000, I think I would just be happy with myself. Like, let me go pay something off with that 50 grand, not literally sit on it every day. Here's the thing about, because at the end of the day, even though he's done well, he's doing well, I'm sure he's going to continue to do great things in his career. But it's like almost at the end of the day, is the guy kind of just like, and here's the stereotype, right? Like a kind of like a dumb jock, right? The chick is half his age. And I hate to say that because I'm a former athlete, so I don't want to generalize anybody, but the chick is half his age. Actually, she's less than twice, because I think she's just like turned 20 or something like that, and he's closing in on 60. He looks good, but Shannon Sharpe's no spring chicken, right? It kind of lends to, it's like self-esteem. you know? I'm sure he knows that the chick is not generally interested in being married and having his babies, being barefoot and pregnant and making, lemonade from scratch and, apple pie from making her own dough. I'm sure that's probably not what he's thinking that she's viewing him as. I mean, so maybe in that way it's give and take. But as a 56-year, I think he's 56 now, as a 56-year-old person, adult, you would think in terms of your personal life, like the trajectory would be different. Like even, yes, he's never been married. I've seen him kind of hint around wanting it and not wanting it, wanting it and not wanting it. I guess, the whole fear of commitment or vulnerability or, if it doesn't work or, well, I'm worth this amount of money and, but the perception on dating to me, and I'm a woman, so I'm not going to probably see it how he sees it, but it just seems like it should be a bit different at 56. Yes, you're worth, I don't know what he's worth, but probably close to or closing in on somewhere nearing 100 million, right? I'm not in his bank account, but he seems to be financially smart. He has a lot of, different revenue streams coming in, income coming in. So I'm not counting his pockets. I don't know what kind of investment stocks, blase that he has, but he's probably at least worth somewhere, I would say, between 40 and 60, close, probably. Net worth, that's everything. Maybe not in the bank, but that's everything that he has in total. I just feel like there would be a better choosing or a better flock, a better or a well-vetted group of women. Or it just feels like you would just have the pick of the litter, It's not just like you have money, but nobody knows who you are. You have some startup that nobody knows. Everyone knows Shannon Sharpe. And so maybe people do say that fame makes it harder to date, and I get that. But there definitely has to be people that reputable people that know somebody. Even if you're not looking for a serious, committed relationship, even if you're still I'm just going to play in the field until I die, or whatever, It seems like there has to be like well-vetted women, like you can trust her with this or you can trust her with that. Why going after the 19, 20-year-old OnlyFans chick who you obviously know what the MO is over there? Why, I hate to say this, but why go play in the swamp in your fresh linen clothes, right? I mean, of all the women you could have, of all the women that would probably be satisfied if I'll be your secret lover, if you will. You pay take care of me in that sense financially. I'll stay committed in that type of way. Like I'll keep it on reserve. You're taking care of me. Maybe life didn't go the way I thought, or money's tight, or whatever the situation may be. Kids' tuition. Sure, I'll play my cards right. Okay, this is just for me. It's financial. For you, it's just I'm in town, or I'll be in town, or I'm gonna come fly you into my town. You know what I mean? Like some type of proper agreement with someone who could probably hold discretion if that's the avenue that you want to go down. To me, it's like these guys go after, and I'm not discrediting anyone for doing what they have to do. OnlyFans is not, to my knowledge, it's not killing anybody, right? To my knowledge. I don't know what's out there. I don't watch. I don't have OnlyFans. I don't even know how to access it, really. But I'm assuming it's an app or probably. Anyway, I'm going off on a tangent. You know how I do. But it just seemed like there would just be a better avenue to, if you just want to have sexual or kinky sexual relationships. Like they were professional, discretionary individuals that you could have that with, versus going to OnlyFans appears to be like the bottom of the barrel type of, probably one step above street walking, right? Like you got the chicks that walk the corners in whatever, every city, USA. And it seemed like OnlyFans would be like really like a step up from that. And then and I think OnlyFans is, I mean, it's porn, right? OnlyFans models, they do porn, or only, I don't know if they just do like sexy solo stuff. I have no idea. So just put that in the comments. I have no idea what's going on with OnlyFans, but it definitely seems like it's kind of bottom of the barrel. There are like professional escorts that probably have lots of paperwork to sign for you to be able to come in and do what you want to do and go about your business, wash up and, go sit on a podcast for 2 hours and make, $1 million. I think his podcast now is like almost like $1 million an episode or something like that. Someone said. I'll have to do the research on that. But if you get with sketchy people are going to put you in sketchy situations. Like I used to say when I worked with the general public and people would ask me in this particular profession, and like, how is it dealing with the general public every day? It's like, well, I deal with general shit. I'm not, dealing with these, multi-billionaires. I'm not in Dubai and I'm the owner of a hotel or whatever. No, I'm at the common level and I deal with common shit, basically. Whatever that entails. It's, nothing grand about it. It's a job. It pays fairly well. And that's just what it was. So, but why deal with, when you're of that caliber, why even put yourself in these type of positions? I mean, but if you leave it to me, I'm like, he's old enough to just, God, like, just find you a wholesome chick, or find you a one chick. Find you just a good woman or a decent woman and get married and sit down. It seems like the men that are stable overall, like have a stable relationship, do better. Have more peace in life. Find you one good woman and live out your days, especially when you're at that level. Especially when at 56, I'm sure you've had all variations of punani that one can possibly have. Like, and I always think back to, there's a movie called The Best Man with Taye Diggs and Morris Chestnut and Terrence Howard and Regina King, Nia Long. I'm forgetting some people's names. I can see their faces, but I can't remember their names. But there's a line in the particular film, The Best Man, where Terrence Howard says, hey, y'all know there's nothing better than new. Right? The only thing better than kitty is new kitty. So, and I'm not a man, so y'all can definitely speak on that, those of you who are males, but it just kind of seems like at what point it's like, okay, I've had all, at 56, I would just feel like it's, how much more can I have? And I guess you could say a lot. I can still have, somebody every day if I wanted, somebody new every day, but doesn't that ever get old? Because then look what the kind of situations when you're of that caliber, as in terms of not just financially, but when you have that amount of fame. Like Shannon Sharpe is pretty famous because not just because he's an athlete, because that would be like a small circle, right? But now because he's on, nationally syndicated First Take on, so his national syndicated show on ESPN with Stephen A. and Molly and other various guests that come in. But now you're in the YouTube space, so now you're in a whole different chapter, in a whole different area where people are finding access to you, because people who may not pay attention to sports watch YouTube and watch podcasters. And for the video that he had last year with Cat Williams, top of January, to have garnered almost 90 million views, speaks to the fact that now you've got a whole new crowd. Because he wasn't getting views like that before. So probably now people that even didn't pay attention to sports and maybe didn't care as much about sports, maybe even didn't care that much about comedians, but they want to hear all the latest Hollywood juicy gossip. So now you have that crowd. You have the people that watch just because everyone was talking about this Cat Williams video. Oh, you've got to see it. You got to see it. It's salacious. It's juicy. It's so much gossip. It's conspiracy. It's Illuminati. It's all these things. You got to watch. You got to check it out. And it was long as hell. And I watched it. I sat through it. And once I pressed play and I had my little snacks because I heard so much about it, I was done. I wasn't going anywhere else. I'm like, I'm going to watch this whole thing from beginning to end. And I did. So now you have a whole new crowd of people that are paying attention to you and watching you. So at this point, it's really time for him to settle in to this new space that you're in and put the old, foolish, crazy stuff behind you. Get you one good one. Trust me, there are a lot of, every woman that's a wife is not some modest prude wearing ankle-length dresses, and nothing's wrong with that. But there's some women that can play multiple roles. Old saying of being a lady in the streets and a freak in the sheets. Basically meaning I know how to hold myself together publicly. I know how to appear, respectful, but when we're at home and the lights, go out or on, if you like it that way. I know how to do what needs to be done, and we can be as kinky as we want between each other. Because even when he had that, what was it, last year? I think he had like a sex tape leak, or it was the audio of a sex tape. I thought, okay, that's just corny because you have to go through so much to go live on Instagram. And yes, I've accidentally text people. I don't keep my phone locked. I don't have anything to hide. So I ain't got no money. So somebody steals from me, you're probably going to be helping me, But it's so many steps that you have to go through. Just like with the rapper Nelly, he released something and it was like, oh, it's an accident. It's like, come on, At some point, you got to stop doing the cheesy, corny, and I get it. Some people say it's a humiliation ritual. Some people say it's a PR step. But I'd argue to say I think you're pretty famous enough, Shannon Sharpe. So I don't think it's that. I think somebody's coming after him because he's got $100 million contract coming up, and he's getting all this fame now and all this fortune now, even more so than before. So let's try, now it's time to run those pockets dry. So I would like to see him do better and be better. Now, if it's true, then we'll have to reassess and readjust, and we'll make a video about it, right? But right now, I think it's kind of a similar situation where this attorney is just filing cases out the wazoo and is throwing stuff at the wall, and let's see what sticks, which again will eventually discredit him and his reputation, because only so many cases and stuff get thrown out or dismissed, or especially when you're going after high profile figures that are coming right back after you, before people just start turning their heads. Oh, it's him again. Oh, So anyway, we'll definitely keep an eye on this, just because I actually am a Shannon Sharpe, I don't know how I would say fan, but I kind of pay attention to him. I love watching, I like sports, so I'm definitely familiar with who he is, and I do see him probably at least a few times in a week on either First Take or on this podcast, just to kind of check it out and see what's going on. And then he has another podcast called Nightcap with Chad Ocho, whatever his name is. Anyway, so it's him and Shannon Sharpe. I don't watch that one because I don't like Chad when he headbutted that chick. I'm not for domestic violence, but anyway, we'll keep watching, and thank you for watching.